Hello there, friends, and welcome to a very special episode of Virtual Strangers. I, of course, am your host, Wes. With me, as always, is my good friend Roots. Roots, we call this a special episode, but you know what? You know what makes it special? Because already happened, bro. This is past Roots and past West talking to the people. Uh, I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not used to being here without my chat, bro. What am I gonna do?
I don't know. There's nothing to pull from, nobody to talk to. It's almost very barren. And you get used to that chat, right? It is and they're a nice chat. I like it as well.
And you know, it's kind of presumptuous of us. Like we just assume that everyone's going to be watching this in the future. Maybe nobody watches it. Maybe there's not even any people left to watch it. Like this, the
Ooh,
sun could explode, and like half the world could be on fire. You know, Kentucky's been on fire for like a month now, anyway. So I guess it's about time the rest of the world gets their turn.
there was a something emitted from the sun a couple days ago that's supposed to get here in the next day or two. Could just be as simple as your power getting knocked out and you can't watch it. And then in that case, it's the least of your worries is virtual strangers though. You know, I was just looking at my background and I was noticing how big my balls are, Wes. And
Dude, they're huge.
they're huge, man. It's crazy.
Well, let's hope that the sun doesn't knock the grid out. Because if you're watching this, if people are still on Earth and you're able to watch this video right now when we're releasing it, Moss Book 2 is out today, Roots. And you know, it came out a few months ago as a PSVR timed exclusive, and we raved about it back then. And we've talked about it since then as being on the short list for Game of the Year, overall, Game of the Year. And as the year has gone on, I'd like to say that it's held up pretty well, man. I still think that this game is a front runner, and being able to enjoy it on modern hardware certainly hasn't hurt its case any at all.
Absolutely. It's just amazing. Actually have those controllers in your hands. It's the game was designed for that kind of a thing, you know. And it's special. So,
Yeah, it is a special game. It's a special franchise, and it comes from a very special group of people at Polyarc Games, which is why we're here today. Actually, we're here by the grace and goodwill put forth from the people at Polyarc, who are allowing us to do something special for you, the viewers, to celebrate and mark the launch of Moss Book 2 onto Meta Quest 2. So, what are we doing? Well, first of all, we've got a couple of these to give away, and I'm sure you guys have seen these around on your social media, in your YouTube feed. This is a very special limited edition quill figurine that comes in this nice big box that has cool art all over it. You can't buy these in stores, folks. You either have them sent to you or otherwise win them in a giveaway, which is what we're here to do today. We're going to give away a couple of these. So if you're interested in winning not only one of these, but also those who win one of these are going to get a copy of the game as well. We've got a couple of keys for the Quest 2 version of Moss Book 2. So we're going to have two winners, and each winner is going to win one figurine and one copy of the game. Stay tuned to the end of the video if you're interested in entering that giveaway. We'll tell you how you could win before we sign off. But Roots, we have business to attend to before we get there, right?
yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you what, man. I was having a hard time. I'm trying to look at my camera, and you're having those figurines. Those things are so cool looking. I just wanted to keep looking at it, right? I'm jealous of the viewers, man. What a whoever wins that. That's super cool. And you're getting the game.
Yeah, man. It's a cool little thing. Although I got to say um, this one when it got here, it was like that. It was like the Demio sets. Like
Uh,
I, I had to glue it back together, but it looks good
Bummer.
now.
What a bummer, man.
Anyway, no, it's all good, man. It's all good. It's holding up so far, but no, it's cool looking. It's a cool prize. Like it's probably the coolest thing we've ever given away. So hopefully everyone gets a chance to watch this video. and gets a chance to enter. But the reason we're here, the reason for this very special episode is we recently had a chance to sit down and talk to, for a very brief period of time, admittedly, a couple of the members of the team there at Polyarc. We got a chance to talk to Doug Burton and Chris Alderson from Polyarc Studios, and yeah, man, it was a good time, right? A good talk, even though we were a little bit rushed for time. We did have a chance to, touch on a few subjects with them.
It was super cool. I was telling Wes after, because he's like, "Oh man, I didn't squeeze in it. We didn't get back to you." I'm like, "Dude, I kept my mouth shut. We had 20 minutes. So I wasn't going to interject. I just wanted to hear what they had to say, and what a good interview."
Well, we're good people, man.
Yeah.
Like these are good dudes, and like we were a bit rushed, and yeah, Roots didn't get a word in edgewise. Like I tried to kind of throw it off a couple of times in that direction, but it just ended up it didn't work out. But the cool thing is that they were so cool that I think they're going to come back on in a few weeks and do part two. And this one's not going to be 20 minutes. This one's going to be long form. So very much looking forward to that.
And most of that was of my fault. Well, not my fault because I had no control, but having to get everything set up in a short time, and then they're kind of doing, I guess, a press junket or whatever they're doing. They're, we weren't the only people they were talking to, so they had a limited time frame, right?
No, we were actually the first people that they talked to that day, and we put them late right off the bat, like right off the top of the day, starting late. Yeah.
Sucks.
Anyway, super cool. Doug Burton, Chris Alderson, super cool conversation. And why don't we take a look at that right now? I guess I want to start with you, Doug, because I found it interesting when I was looking through your bio and kind of studying up on where you've been and where you're going. I found it odd that during the time, basically right after you left Austin for Seattle, the entire West Coast decided to move to Austin. Isn't that ironic?
I know, yeah. I mean, Austin was already, getting a more and more popular name, and like for years they were like top of the list of places to move. And I was like, really? It's getting pretty hot and expensive here. So, and then some friends who were already at Polyarc were like, hey, you want to come check out some cool VR stuff we're making? And I was like, oh yeah, I'm getting into VR. I love all the like edge of the technology type stuff. So I got to meet the team, and I was like, yeah, everybody here is pretty cool. So I was happy to come join.
So cool. So you had friends at Polyarc then. Like I know that you've kind of been into VR since the inception, right? Since kind of Oculus, Facebook and Oculus merged, consumer VR became a thing. I know you've kind of had an interest in it since then, but so you got introduced to Polyarc by friends that were already there?
Yeah. So one of the other co-founders, Danny Bulla, we worked together back at Midway, that first job. I remember I met him because he IM'd me asking how to like get into some file, and then was like, oh hey, by the way, we should go grab a drink after work. And then bam, we've been like friends ever since. And so him and some other founders started Polyarc, and they were looking for some help to work on book 2. And I was like, yeah, I love book 1, so I'd happy to come join and help out.
I heard about Doug a long time ago, and he's like, we gotta ask my friend Doug. And it's finally just like, Danny, just ask him, like maybe he'll want to. But he was nervous. He was nervous because he's like, I feel like I have a shot. This is my one chance to get Doug, and we're fortunate that he hopped on. So
yeah, and now you can't go back. Now you can't go back, right? Once you're a VR dev, you're always a VR dev, right?
Oh yeah. There's a lot of fun working VR, and working in Seattle is pretty nice. Liking the weather. So they convinced me that first day I came to visit. I was like, oh yeah, this place, my new stop.
Yeah, your story's kind of interesting to me because I have a friend, and I'm going to leave his name out of it, who basically, much like you guys, came up through the games industry, making traditional games, working at some AAA places, and then jumped into VR right at the get-go, 2015, 2016. And he got in too early. I mean, he had an awesome game, critically acclaimed, but didn't make much money. So over the last few years, he's been doing mobile games, which again kind of parallels what you were doing in Austin for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I've kind of been trying to I know he wants to get back to VR. He's kind of it's his passion, as you guys understand, I'm sure. Um, we've actually been working on that over the last couple of weeks, getting him back to his studio. You're a good example for me to
Yeah,
point him
that's a great
to.
one because yeah, mobile VR does kind of track with mobile games a bit. Like early on, it was a lot of like smaller indie studios trying to be the first to market type thing, and then some of the bigger players are like, oh man, mobiles, there's a lot of money here. Wow, we weren't really paying attention.
Right.
And so I think VR is kind of like a similar position where it's at that point where everyone's like, oh, is this going to be a thing? And, you got small studios like ourselves trying to get some great early ideas in, make a name for ourselves and make an app or make something that people are going to want to download when they get their first headset. So that kind of thing of like, oh, wow, what do I want to play? I heard this game is good. Everyone's raving about it. And it's got a sequel now too. So I got 2 games to check out.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I listened to an interview that you did with, I don't even know what the name of the podcast was. It was a podcast for game devs by game devs.
Oh,
And
yeah.
a lot of the things I heard you saying about your job working on those casino games are the same things I hear this guy saying about his job at his mobile game company, that that it's good steady work. It's a great company. He could probably work there forever and retire if he wanted to, but he wants to make VR, which is
Mhm.
something that we can all understand. And Chris, your story is very interesting to me as well, because I mean you came from a pretty high profile place there at Bungie that you had tenure at. You've been there a long time, and
Mhm.
your story is pretty much like it's a metaphor for all of us in the VR enthusiast space, where you just kind of you tried VR and you knew, right? You knew then that this is going to be something that you wanted to be a part of, and you just sold out immediately, right? And went for it.
Yeah, Bungie was next door to Valve, and they were messing with the Vive really early on. I remember going over there, and their headset was like tethered to the ceiling. There's a lot of cords. It just looked very sci-fi, and I was like, "Oh man, what am I getting into?" And yeah, played a few experiences, and I left that place just in awe, and so I was just daydreaming all the time of like, what can I do here? And honestly, it also took, a couple of really good friends that I was working with. Danny's one of them, and then Tam Armstrong also left at some point, and they got jobs at Oculus for a while, developing on the Rift and creating experiences for that. And so they were getting a lot of experience, and everything they were telling me was just like, wow, it's only getting better year over year. And so that convinced me, as far as like a business proposition, that like, yes, at the moment, and this was like 7 years ago, at the moment it's small, but every single year you see technology advancements, you see just you start seeing sales numbers are becoming more of a like, people are okay sharing a little bit more of like, okay, how much is the MetaQuest 2 selling, and some of those rumors and numbers we're hearing is like, wow, yeah, this is a very bright future. And so not only is it really exciting to develop on, and the possibilities are, I feel like we're still even just barely even scratching the surface of what
Yeah.
we're able to do yet. And with every new piece of technology and like updated HD lens and fidelity and lighter headsets, and the barrier of entry being very small, pretty soon it's just going to be some sunglasses you pop on and you're ready to go. It just, I feel like, well, one, I feel like, yeah, you talk about some friends that made really great experiences, but didn't quite make it through that initial push. Because I mean, it has been difficult at times to be like, okay, do we keep pursuing VR? We still love it, but as far as like, what's sustainable, we want to be able to hire the best talent in the industry. How do we convince them to come aboard? And I gotta say, it's getting easier and easier to make believers out of people, and then also retain them and make sure that they're comfortable as well as developers. Because yeah, pulling people from Bungie or like big companies like Ubisoft or whoever, it's like they're comfortable, right? They're doing great things, and they're well paid, and they're living great lives. How do we tell them that we're a valuable proposition for them. And so yeah, I'm as far as like where VR is at, I'm pretty excited about where it is and where it's headed.
Yeah, and that's one thing I appreciate about you is uh a lot of people think a lot of things about Facebook slash Meta, and obviously a lot of the criticism that they receive is justified. But I feel like people in the VR enthusiast space, and maybe it's the same in your space as well, don't really fully appreciate um, eh, the the fact that we owe Meta a debt of gratitude
Oh
for
yeah.
pretty much lifting the entire industry up with their the investment and vision that they've had for VR over the last couple of years. VR is in a great place today, and it's very much so due to Meta and their investment. And
Yeah.
I know that fact isn't lost on you, and that's I think that's what I was trying to say.
I think they're great because like someone has to make those first big steps to say like, no, we're gonna really invest in this and like make this, make this a thing, answer some of the tough questions that everyone's kind of like has a few good ideas, kind of put them all together in the one great package that everyone can actually use and get comfortable with. And so I think that's what's been so great is everyone's gotten comfortable with the Quest. Now everyone's been able to like really start to explore more new ideas, and the hardware is beginning to mature. Users are getting to mature with how they use it, and a lot of developers are maturing too. So it's all just coming together really nicely, I think, and they were a big step to that.
Yeah, inside out tracking, I remember that just a few years ago was like, how are they going to do that? And now it's becoming a common thing. And so yeah, it's like what's next, and how far can we take it? And yeah, it's fun to think about all these different little points in time. Like that's one of them, right? Like the Quest coming out and inside out tracking, and then you think about, okay, what if one or two of these steps didn't happen? How far would we be? Would we be like 3 years behind? And then where would Polyarc be if certain things didn't happen, and if certain piece of hardware didn't come out that did attract millions of people as a business, where would we be at? And so I feel very fortunate that things have happened as they've happened, and that certain companies like Meta are all in basically. They're helping push the industry forward.
Now with that said, we're in a very interesting place right now where Meta is actually kind of starting to take their foot off the gas a little bit. But we have the next gen for VR looming. Like literally next year, there are going to be headsets on top of headsets, and it's not just going to be a res bump this time, right? There are going to be new features, and I got to imagine that this is a pretty exciting time for your studios specifically because Oculus slash Meta success aside, I've always kind of looked at Moss as a PlayStation VR franchise. Now I know you're a cross plat and you eventually trickle out to all the various major VR platforms, but Moss Book 1 debuted as a timed exclusive on PSVR. Moss Book 2 has debuted as a timed exclusive on PSVR. And as we, sit at the precipice of the next gen for Sony VR, PSVR 2, and you look at that spec sheet, right, with the eye tracking, with the advanced haptics. I mean, Doug, as a game designer, your mouth has to be watering. I know that you have a particular affinity for designing puzzles, right? And when you start to be able to incorporate more of the user's senses into the gameplay, that has to be an exciting prospect for you, right?
Yeah, it totally is. I mean, even things like kind of the gaze tracking that I think PSVR 2 is touting. We're already thinking about ways that we could use that. So in Moss, we already kind of track the player's gaze to kind of know if you're looking at Quill or looking at the puzzle, to kind of know where to guide you, what hints to give you. So once we have that gaze tracking and we can actually see what your eyes are looking at more precisely, that's even more information for us to work with. So now we know if you're looking at the puzzle, but you're not looking at the right part of the puzzle, or if you're looking at Quill, you're looking at her ears, or you're looking into her eyes, we can have different reactions there. So like just that ability to kind of have more granularity in everything is going to be great. And I'm thinking like too, with more haptics, if we ever have like more gloves instead of the actual joysticks, the things you can do with that. Just so anytime we can have more granularity with the user senses, we're gonna be able to do a lot more cool stuff.
All right, so we're quickly running out of time, and I don't want to hold you guys too long. So let's talk a little bit about Moss. And Chris, I want to ask you specifically, as you are the art director there, about your possible influences here, because pretty much from the moment I stepped into your world, I got heavy like Tolkien-esque vibes from your world, from your characters, from the story that your team is telling. Am I off base here, or are you influenced by works like The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, this sort of thing?
I mean, the story itself is very much the hero's tale, and if you look at Quill's size, and you as like this being that's kind of like somewhat of a, you know, a mentor or like someone guiding this character, you can definitely see the bridge between that and like The Hobbit and the, you know, Bilbo's relationship with Gandalf, and like going to this like this mountaintop, and like you have a goal there, and like, you know, it's very much so in that regard. I'd say visually, we took a lot of different references from a lot of different places. We looked at children's fairy tale art, like illustration, like what are they doing to their world to make a soft, inviting place, because we really wanted players in our world to be really comfortable. For the most part, we do take you like to like darker areas to like really mirror what's happening in the story. And so like all of the yeah, I'd say like the emotional journey, we do want to like match what the world looks like. A lot of references came from some Studio Ghibli animations, and so like Princess Mononoke was a huge influence on me. I love that movie. And I also love the way they rendered like that, you know, the forbidden forest, and that's like all lush with water, and all the trees are massive with like roots growing all over the place. And so those feelings is what we really tried to capture. And so whether we looked at different paintings or different artists, it's really about the mood and like how do we want the player to feel when they play it.
Yeah, and kudos to you, by the way, as you make very effective use of a couple of the things that VR does very well, and one of those being scale. Scale is something that can affect the player in a very visceral way, and typically it's the opposite, right? It's when you stand in front of something that's just this massive monolithic thing, it can be a bit awe-inspiring. But what I love about shrinking things down and making it miniaturized, it gives you more of an eye toward the detail of the overall scene. And I think you guys do that expertly in this game, and your worlds are absolutely beautiful. The other thing that I think that you make tremendous use of, especially in the sequel, which again out today on Oculus Quest 2, Meta Quest 2, location. You guys have done great with the realms concept, and you know the immersion that VR provides the player. Roots and I talk about this all the time. Even bad games can be positive experiences, right? Because you visit a new world, and the variety of locations that you guys have on display in the sequel it's awesome. And you know, a lot of the scenery is just beautiful. So kudos to you and your team, Chris. It's really is a masterpiece.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're running out of time, but yeah, initially the first and second game were supposed to be one experience. And as we were making the first game, we realized very quickly that like with the money the studio had and the people and like the time we had, it's like, okay, we need to cut this down. And so we split it in half. And then if the second game is all about being in the castle, that's not a very good use of VR. I mean, it is really cool to be within some architecture where you can see all that detail that you're talking about, but VR is meant to take you places. And so in the first game, we were able to take you on a journey and take you to all these different sorts of pieces of nature, and like ruins, and like you're in a swamp, and then you're in like this like sprite realm. And in this one, we're like, okay, if we have the idea of realms, that means we can go even wider with it. Like, why not all of a sudden be in this like snow-peaked mountain? and why not take you to even more fantastical places? So yeah, I was pretty happy with the way that turned out.
And one more thing before I let you guys go. And yes, I know we gotta go. We gotta go. I just want to commend you on the way that you've been. When you have a third person game inside of or outside of VR, typically um, developers would consider it to be a success if the player identifies as being one with the character. But you guys have taken the exact opposite approach by letting the player be the reader, be a character in the story of Quill. What you've been able to accomplish is something special, and that is a relationship on many levels, including an emotional level between the game's main protagonist and you yourself. It's a very unique relationship, and I think it's probably the number one reason why your game has the standing that it does have within all of the major VR catalogs. I mean, you guys are on a short list, whether you're talking about PSVR, Quest 2, PC. If you ask people what their favorite games are, Moss and now Moss Book 2 are on those lists more times than not. And the reason why, it's because of Quill. It's because of this relationship. And I love how in the sequel, which again is out today on MetaQuest 2, you give the reader more of an active role. And I feel like what you're doing there, it only serves to reinforce that you're not Quill, that you are a separate entity in the game, and further strengthen your relationship. So kudos, Doug, on an excellent design game. It literally is it's an expansion, a step up in every category, whether you're talking art, gameplay, storytelling, worlds, everything. You guys have knocked it out of the park here, and I feel like the players in the Quest community are really in for a treat today.
Thank you so much. That's great to
Thanks
hear.
so
Yeah.
much. I love hearing you talk about it because you totally get it.
Yeah, you nailed it. Yeah.
It's a legit sequel, which a lot of times we don't see, right? It's in every way.
Cool.
Yeah, that was
Right,
important
right.
to us. Yeah, to nail those things. Thanks a lot.
Anyway, I really wish I had more time with you guys, but I don't want to make you late. I know you've got a lot of media to do today. Hopefully, we can have you back on again sometime soon, and we can really
That'd be great.
go deep on this stuff. Anyway, thank you, Doug Burton, Chris Alderson, Polyarc Studios, Moss Book 2 out today. You guys have a great day. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
And there you have it, folks. That's our talk. That was Chris Alderson, Doug Burton from Polyarc. What a couple of cool dudes, Roots.
Yeah, absolutely. And their stories, man. I don't know, man. It really intrigued me, and I can't wait for them to get back and we can dig a little bit deeper into their stories.
Yeah, I love talking to people like this who come from a traditional gaming background, who walk away from all of that to pursue VR at a time when, especially in the case of Chris, at a time when, there's no money to be made. You're just going off of your gut that you think VR is going to end up being a big deal, and pursuing that. I mean, it takes a lot of balls to do something like that. Like, I don't know if I could have done it if I were him.
No, that's absolutely not. And like we said, or they said in the interview, a lot of people didn't make it. I'm sure they saw people they knew falling left and right, and it was like, oh God, we got to keep pushing. And I'm glad they did. Otherwise, we wouldn't have these. Well, I guess now the sequel to an amazing game, right?
Yeah, and by the way, the headline coming out of all that? Who knew that Valve was responsible
Crazy
for Moss? Right? No, people like to heap a lot of praise on Lord Gaben and Valve. Little did they know that one of VR's most beloved franchises is actually due to a demo being given out by the good people at Valve.
Things like that happen, Wasn't it the Nintendo or no, PlayStation was birthed because Nintendo scrapped it, right?
Yep.
So I mean, it just things happen. It's life.
But you think Nintendo wants a redo on that one? You think
I
they'd like a redo?
guarantee. I guarantee if they could go back Mandela effect style, they would change that in a heartbeat, and there would be no PlayStation. That'd be crazy, man.
Yeah, that would suck.
Yeah, that would be not a world I want to live in. It would be cool. I guess it'd be cool to check out in a sense, and then come back to the real world, because you could go and you could see where all this amazing talent went. They would, if just because PlayStation doesn't exist doesn't mean that these games may not exist, right? In some form or fashion. I don't know.
Maybe Xbox would be really good if PlayStation wasn't around.
It would have actually done well. Well, I guess it did do well, but what's well?
Anyway, super cool of Chris and Doug to stop by. Very much appreciate our friends over there at Polyarc. Look forward to talking to them again very soon. Hopefully very, very soon, Roots. And again, if you haven't already, be sure to click that big red button and ring the bell so that you'll be notified when the next time we get to talk to our friends here. Anyway, it's time, guys, to talk about our giveaway. And we're going to do this one in typical Virtual Strangers giveaway style. If you would like to win one of these figurines, as well as a copy of Moss Book 2 on Oculus Quest, Meta Quest 2, which is out today, by the way, on Meta Quest 2. It's really simple. All you got to do is two things. One, make sure you're subscribed. That's the important one. Click that big red button. Two, leave a comment down below that says, I would like to enter the giveaway, or something to that effect. It's not going to be a robot picking up the entries. It's going to be real people. As long as we can tell that you want to enter the giveaway from what you say, then you'll be entered. So just leave a comment down below. Make sure you're subscribed. And next Wednesday, so 6 days from the time that this video goes up, we're going to be going live on the air for Strangers in the Night. And we will name the winners of the giveaway live on the air that night. Winners, of course, will be chosen at random via the random.org random number generator, as always. So that's it, man. Good luck to everyone, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you a question real quick that I've just been thinking about recently.
Sure.
And when I play my Oculus Meta Rift S, whatever it is it Oculus or is it Meta? Because I go into my Quest 2 and it's clearly got the Meta symbol, but I go into my Oculus and it's still got the Oculus O for the Rift.
It's Lenovo, bro. It's Lenovo.
Hey, man, they're right there. That just cut through all the BS. It's Lenovo. It's not either, bro.
It's Lenovo. Oh, that's what that O's for. It's Lenovo.
Oh, that's what it's for. Oh, okay. I gotcha.
No, yeah, man, I don't know. Well, never mind. We'll talk about that later. I was about to get on a tangent that has nothing to do with Moss or anything, and I'll save that for Strangers in the Night.
Yep.
Anyway, I guess that's it. It's going to wrap it up on this video. Again, if you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe. Make sure you ring the bell. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And yeah, I guess we'll see you guys very soon. I'd like to thank our friends once again at Polyarc. Thank you to Chris. Thank you to Doug. Thank you to Caitlin for setting all of this up. I mean, you've been awesome for the past month or so. I've been working with Caitlin. She's wonderful. So shout out Caitlin.
Yeah, awesome.
Anyway, with that said, friends, I'd like to thank you all once again for watching. For Roots, I'm Wes. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Take it easy.